Hey, this is Ponce here to talk to you about the Karma remake, the abilities that will be going live on the public test realm, or in theory be going live on the public test realm very soon. Possibly today, maybe Monday or Tuesday or sometime next week. We'll see. Yeah, so they've been announced. Like I said, they're not actually up on the test realm yet, so I'm just here to show you what they are and kind of discuss them a little bit. If you're watching this way in the future when the stuff is already out, I'll put a link. I'll edit this video, adding links in the annotations for videos when I get them up. I'll get them up ASAP of what the abilities actually do in game, a full gameplay video, stuff like that. So yeah, you might want to take a look at those future people from weeks from now or whatever. The abilities, what they actually do, is actually a little bit hard to find. If you want to see them yourself, they're in the general discussion under a thread called "So About That Karma Leak," and on page 279, Riot post number 36, you'll find what they have to say here. Basically, I'll go over the abilities in a second, but what the guy Scarizard, I believe is his name. What he's talking about is a sort of like the problems with karma and all that kind of thing. I mean, I'm sure you guys, most of you recognize what the problems with karma are. He's like doesn't really have a definitive function. He sort of suffers from jack of all trades syndrome, and those sorts of generalist builds usually suck in pretty much every single game that they exist in. Usually have to specialize fairly hard or be good at everything to be effective. Um, Out of here, the main point is that I believe, what's that ability called? Uh, Her mantra, her R, is now only going. There's only going to be a single instance of it. You can't. There's not going to be two that you stack up. Other than that, it's mainly the main information is about the abilities here. So I'm just gonna put it side by side with the old abilities, which I'm getting from the wiki here, so you can kind of see them. I'm going to assume everyone kind of knows what Karma does, the old abilities, so I'm not going to go over it in detail, just kind of compare it to what the new stuff is. Yeah, so first off, we have the passive, Gathering Fire. Hitting enemy champions with Karma spells and basic attacks lowers Mantra's cooldown. So the old thing gave AP. This thing basically works with the fact that now there's only one Mantra charge. So using your stuff basically makes, you're able to cast Mantra more often. Mantra, nothing has changed. Basically, you press it, and the next ability, as far as I can tell, is just going to be a stronger or better version of it, or with extra stuff added to it. No word on whether or not you have to put points into that. I'm gonna assume you don't, but I don't know. But the basic function of it is the same. Q Inner Flame, skill shots that a skill shot that deals magic damage and slows enemies in an area. Empowered by mantra, Soul Flare increases damage and leaves behind a zone that slows and after a brief delay explodes for AoE damage. It's kind of cool. That's replacing her Heavenly Wave that, fan thing she would shoot out and deal damage, and if you had a mantra on it, um, she'd heal people. So basically, it's pure damage with a bit of slow utility on it now. So it's kind of focusing what it does a bit more. Like they're saying, Karma's problem is focus in a specific area, so they're focusing her spells. Pretty standard stuff there. W Focused Resolve. Enemy targeted tether that deals damage over time. If the tether is unbroken after a short duration, the tethered target is rooted in place. Empowered by mantra, Renewal deals bonus damage and heals karma for the duration of the tether. So basically, that's replacing Spirit Bond. That thing, you'd attach to enemies or allies, and there'd be damage and snares and all that crap going on in the place. It wasn't very good, in my opinion. It was hard to use, rather. So now basically what it does is it's kind of almost like a modified, slightly less impactful Morgana ult. It's single target obviously, and it's probably not as strong, and it's not a stun. There's a root attached to it if it like goes off entirely. But yeah, basically it's Morgana ult in a single target regular spell form. And of course, if you power it up, it gets a bit better and heals. Lastly, here we have E, the Inspire, shields an ally and grants them a short speed boost, empowered by mantra, Defiance. Enemies near the shielded ally are damaged while nearby allies are shielded, and granted a short speed boost. So basically, It's keeping some of the old flavor of the old Soul Shield, where it's like you put it on someone and it would explode and deal damage if it was mantra empowered. Now it's just kind of it makes the shield better for in the sense that it's applied to everyone around that person, and it sounds like it's probably not going to be as damaging as the old one. That's my guess, because the old shield actually dealt kind of decent damage. Now it's probably going to do less, is my guess, because it also shields nearby allies. So it's skewing it more to sort of a defensive role, I suppose. Um, Overall, I was no Karma expert, the old Karma expert. In fact, I've only played her like twice, I think, and that's so near when she was first released. Um, the impression I'm getting is they're kind of she's probably going to be like, well, they're saying they want her to be able to solo as an AP champion or kind of also support. I'm getting the feeling that yeah, that's going to be possible. And if you go a solo laner, like mid or top or whatever, she's going to probably mid's the best place. Would be my impression because she doesn't really have an escape. So she's going to fill that kind of role that I like to call defensive AP carry. It's not the crazy blow you up. Every single one of my spells has offensive potential, like Brand or something kind of AP carry. It's more like the Morgana AP carry, where they have okay damage, but they also have utility mixed in. Kind of actually how Makarma is used right now, I guess. So basically, if you pick an AP champion, AP mid champion like that, you have to ensure that the other lanes can actually compensate for your lack of damage. Usually that's how it plays out in solo queue anyway. Um, which is why I actually don't like picking champions like Morgana or to a lesser extent Swain. He also falls into that similar category of utility defensive AP champion carry. But yeah, if you can manage that, I mean, champions like that can be good. Um, Although probably a close comparison because Morgana doesn't really go support. You technically could, but Zyra is an example of champion who can both do support and AP carry. Now, in terms of when playing her support, the kind of vibe I'm getting for her is actually a mix of a lot of champions. I obviously don't know the numbers on all these things. That's going to change how you spec her a lot. But just looking how it is, I kind of get sort of a Nami sort of feel, where you have the option of doing more of an offensive kind of harassy sort of spec, where Nami can either spec the shield thing or the heal thing, the bouncing heal, or she can spec the harass tool, whatever it was called, the thing, the buff where you put it on your allied champion, they deal more damage. Um, so maybe she has the option of going either shield or probably inner flame. With I'm going to guess the W is always going to be the 1-point wonder spell. CC spells tend to be that way. Alternatively, she could end up like what's a champion called Lulu, because inner flame seems like it's going to be skill shots tend to be pretty strong harass tools if you're good with them. So she might be sort of a heavy harass, use W to escape, eat a shield kind of utility support, or not utility support, harass support with utility options. Um, because technically Lulu also does an option of going shield first, but that's usually not a good idea. I always max Q when I do Lulu, pretty much. Although sometimes you're forced into the role. I doubt that E is going to be the go-to spell. It depends again on how strong it is. But I mean, Janna seems to have that role pretty much covered. Like if you want a shielding champion, people typically go Janna or shielding support. But you never know. Like I said, up to the figures. Probably. So my final guess is going to be she's going to be a Lulu like harass with backup support. So probably Q first, E second, and then a 1-point wonder in W. So that's all I have to say on this matter. Like I said, I'll get the actual gameplay stuff up as soon as possible. Hope you found this informative. Please subscribe if you want, to be updated immediately when I get this up, because I'm usually the first or one of the first people to get this info up as soon as it becomes available. But thanks for watching. Hope you found this informative. I think I already said that. Anyway, see you guys around.